You're welcome. Thank you everybody for coming along, and thank you for choosing. So we've just had a little vote as a community as to what subjects we want to study next for the next few weeks. I was just telling everybody that if you've been following along, you have now completed 10 weeks of general Salesforce platform training. And so we've been talking about what topics we can cover in this week and next week before the group has spoken. We are going to cover reports and dashboards this week for this session and the next session after. Then next week, we're going to be looking at sandboxes and consoles. And then the following sessions, we'll start looking at Service Cloud into more detail. And then I think what we'll do is at the end of that, we'll do some fun. We'll have a fun interactive session. We can organize a social for one evening as well. And then I will get some guest speakers to come and talk to you about careers in Salesforce. How does that sound, everybody? Okay, no news is good news. Right then, so I hope you're all ready for Trailhead. This is my favorite part of the platform, I have to admit. I really love working with reports and dashboards, and they give you a real opportunity to get creative. Now, let me explain something. There are 3 possible routes that you can go down with Salesforce in terms of analytics. Salesforce itself was never ever designed to be an analytics platform. If you're watching, you may be familiar with business intelligence applications and their purpose. Their purpose is to connect to databases and allow you to build reports that go across your entire data source. So quite often in system architecture, we talk about having what's known as a data warehouse or a data lake, whereby we can pull together all of our main enterprise, the main data that we use across all of our enterprise software applications, and actually layer a business intelligence tool over the top. Now, in Salesforce, there are 3 main ways that you can report. You can report using standard reports and dashboards, which is generally what we call them. And reports, and these are effectively just the if you go into the reports tab inside your org. Oh, this has changed. Ooh, I like this. I like this very much. Well done, Salesforce. Another release over the weekend. Now I've got to find my org. Okay, it's launched. So you'll see in Salesforce you'll have a reports and you'll have a reports tab and a dashboards tab, and that's what we refer to as standard reporting. In standard reporting in Salesforce, you create what's known as a report type, which is effectively a way of just joining tables together, and then you build your reports as a framework that sits on top of the report types. There's something else that you can actually buy in Salesforce as well, and that's called Einstein Analytics. And my keyboard does not want to work. Now, Einstein Analytics used to be known as Wave Analytics, Salesforce Wave. A lot of products get renamed over the years, and a lot of products come into the suite as a result of acquisitions that Salesforce tend to make. And as you can see, I kind of dabbled in the Einstein Analytics side of things. And Einstein Analytics is an additional tool. It's an additional feature that people have to buy a special license for. And it gives you a way of pulling together different data sources into your Salesforce org. So let me just show you this quick video about Einstein Analytics, which might help you to see the difference between that and standard Salesforce reports.
Einstein Analytics connects your sales, service, or any other team with intelligent insights pre-built right in Salesforce, making it easy for you to drill in and explore all your customer data, whether it's from Salesforce or anywhere else in the business. Your sales team has all the insights they need. Reps can do a white space analysis and take immediate action on opportunities. Sales managers get visibility into their entire team's performance. Executives have access to both sales and service KPIs, and sales ops spot trends and optimize to close the largest deals. Service teams can stay on top of customer satisfaction, providing recommendations right inside the agent console, and even collaborate with other agents right from the dashboard. Meanwhile, service managers can see trends on their call center's efficiency. And Einstein Discovery automatically analyzes millions of data combinations to help them understand how to enhance their team's performance, giving them a full story on what happened, why, and what to do next. Then instantly generate a presentation with all these new insights. And since Einstein Analytics is native to the Salesforce platform, it's instantly mobile, can be customized and up and running within days. And it's extensible with an ecosystem of ready-made apps in the App Exchange. Visit Trailhead to get started and see how to give everyone in your company the answers they need to work smarter and faster with Einstein Analytics. Blaze your trail with Salesforce.
Right. So that's the marketing spiel. In terms of Einstein Analytics, this effectively explains the difference. So in Einstein Analytics, you might be connecting Salesforce data and external data into what's known as a data set. So the architecture is different to your standard Salesforce reports and dashboards, where you will create a report type and then create a framework of reports over that. With Einstein Analytics, you basically create a data set. So you pull the data together into one thing. Then you create lenses, and those lenses are a way of kind of visualizing that information. You can then go ahead and build you can then go ahead and build analytics applications, and you can also build dashboards, like more dynamic dashboards, which is it's basically the Salesforce reporting on steroids, which is why it costs a little bit more. With analytics, you also get discovery, which is the AI and prediction element to it. So it will actually, you can set up certain rules and it will tell you, like, are you most likely to, based on the data that we're seeing, we think that you'll miss your target this year, etc., etc. So it's very smart, and you can have a play with it in your developer edition org as well. The third thing is Tableau. Now, Tableau was a very exciting acquisition that took place last year. It was a huge deal, like billions of dollars in acquiring Tableau. Tableau, I actually have a customer who I set up a professional services app for with Financial Force, who is a Tableau partner. And now, because of the Tableau acquisition, they now find themselves Salesforce partners as well. So it's been absolutely fantastic to see that growth for them as well. Now, Tableau is a different platform altogether and a completely different tool. And again, Tableau sits outside Salesforce, and you can connect Salesforce to it, and you can also connect all kinds of other database and data platforms to it. So the way I would see Tableau is, again, if you were collecting lots of data and pooling data from various enterprise software applications, you might layer Tableau over the top. Okay, you ready for another one? Let's do it.
Tableau empowers everyone to see and understand their data. It's business intelligence for your entire organization. Explore and analyze data in seconds. Just drag and drop to discover trends and outliers. Or use natural language to go from question to answer in an instant. Connect to the data you care about, whether it's a spreadsheet, database, or big data. Access data warehouses or cloud data. Tableau Prep helps you quickly and confidently transform and shape your data for analysis. Easily combine data from multiple sources. See all your data at a glance with Prep Builder's visual and direct interface. Smart grouping algorithms make it easy to reorganize your data. Then, publish and schedule your flows with Prep Conductor. Or open the output directly in Tableau Desktop for analysis, where you can ask questions, change your perspective, and reveal deeper meaning. Transform your data into powerful interactive dashboards. Securely share your data and dashboards with Tableau Online or Tableau Server, so everyone in your organization can ask and answer their own questions, right from a browser, tablet, or phone. Whether you want a fully hosted solution like Tableau Online, or to manage your own Tableau server on premises or in the cloud, the choice is yours. Everyone in your organization can access data and dashboards to explore and find their own insights in a trusted and secure environment. Tableau's management tools give you control over everything, from user permissions to data source connectivity, and the visibility you need to support your deployment. Tableau naturally fits within the fabric of your business, so you can easily scale from small teams to full organizations with thousands of users. Tableau. See and understand your data.
Okay, so the way I can say this in plain English or in Gemma speak is you got your standard reports and dashboards in Salesforce. You can have the fancy version of that with Salesforce, with Einstein Analytics, and you can bring in additional data sources. But you get the really cool stuff with Tableau, for sure. So that's how I kind of figure out the difference. So let's go. So for this purposes, this week, I just want to take you through standard reports and dashboards. And if you want to take the next step and start working through any of the additional stuff, then yes, Tableau has a free learning program that they are that they are issuing to people, and you can also spend some time to learn Einstein Analytics. You can also get certified in it as well if you want to. I've had a lot of fun with Einstein Analytics. Some of the wording's very different, and you get that a lot with when Salesforce makes an acquisition. Sometimes there are different words that are used for the same thing, and then the exams test you on what words you know, which can be a bit challenging. But yeah, so should we have a look at what I have prepared earlier for your reports and dashboards training? Okay. So we did actually, we covered this at a very high level earlier in our course. So today we will go a little bit deeper and we can do some trailhead on it. Chim-san, thank you very much for sharing the link to Tableau. You can have a little go at that. You can get 90 days of access to Tableau's free e-learning program platform. So do take advantage of that while you can. So as you know, working with reports and dashboards is really, it really can affect the decisions that you make about data that you keep in Salesforce and how you configure your objects and fields. Quite often, when I've worked on implementations before, we've sat and planned out what fields we want up front when we've followed a waterfall kind of methodology. And then we've always found that later on, by the time our customers start to see how their information, how their decisions are coming through in reports, that's when we start to see more changes needed to the data model. So more fields, more objects, etc., and more experiences for users, because there are certain reports and dashboards that are needed. Now, one of the things that I tend to say to my customers is that your reports and dashboards they don't need to start everything. Controversial, I know, but it's quite a common approach for a consultant to walk into a customer site and say, okay, tell me what your KPIs are, tell me what your reports are, and then design an entire system around that. I'm not saying that reports and dashboards and KPIs are not important. They are really important, absolutely, but they are important as a measure of success and a measure of how your company is moving towards, fulfilling its strategy. The other thing I say to people is that your reports and dashboards are only as good as the data that goes in. And the data that goes in is only as good as the experience your users have. So you could build a really amazing data model that supports all the KPIs, but if it's crap in terms of experience, if the user logs in and goes, oh my God, I'm not going to use this, this is awful, and it's not helping me, you've configured this system for nothing. It's a waste of a project. So bear in mind, whenever you're designing Salesforce and you look at your requirements for, from any source, could be anyone in your business plus any customers, whatever, think about how you are going to engage your users in terms of creating that valuable data that you can then report on that will drive those decisions. And as you're thinking about how you design this, you will start to have questions come up in your head that you can ask people. And the temptation is to say to people, to your stakeholders, okay, what fields do you want to track? What data do you want to track? What works better is understanding why it's important to keep that data. Why do we want to keep the lead source? What possible lead sources are there? How do you get business? Well, we go to trade shows. Okay, that's one. We have a website and we collect website visits. Great. Okay. We have a lead tracking tool that creates leads from people who visited our website, several times. Great. We buy mailing lists and we do email blasts out to them. Well, great. So in that 1 minute conversation, you've already identified at least 3 or 4 pick list values for your lead source, which ultimately is going to drive the metric, which is, where are we getting our leads from, which is then going to drive the strategy. Well, actually, we want to get more reliable leads and better quality leads. So we're going to prioritize leads from trade shows, for example. So it's more of a conversation than it is just collecting a list of configuration items. Your job as the Salesforce configurator is to translate those conversations into a working application. Lecture over. Shall we have a look at reports and dashboards for Lightning Experience? Has anybody already done this one? Just want to check before I go. So we've got a no, we've got a yes. Jeremy's done it. Zainab's done it. Adam's done it. Is there any point me doing this one? Well, okay, great. So people have started. Okay, so most of you have actually done or have started this badge. So shall we go? You didn't say you understood it. Would you like to do a project instead? Or are you happy for me to proceed through this one? Because I can talk around it, as you know. Dealer's choice. Wants to do the project. Kat wants to do a project. Anyone else? Project. Okay. Let's do a project then, and then I can talk you through it as we go. So, quick start. In fact, let me see if there's another one. Reports. Oh, my keyboard's working again. Hooray. Let's have a look and see what Trailhead has to offer. Oh, create reports and dashboards for sales and marketing managers. Now that looks fun. Filter, folders, summary formulas. Yeah, go on then. Yes. Okay. Yeah, this one's a bit longer. Let's go through this one. Okay, so before we get started, you did this one as well. Okay, no problem. So before we get started, one of the best things that you can do as an admin, because as an admin, we are going to make sure that we keep things nice and clean and tidy and easy to find. And if we're not an admin, if we're a consultant and we're delivering a project to a customer, we are only in their org for 5 minutes. It's not our house. And that's really important for us all to remember when we are designing solutions in Salesforce, be it folders, be it public groups, be it sharing rules, be it automations and flows or code. It's not our house. So we have to wipe our feet when we come in, and we have to make sure that we leave a good trail behind for all of our, for the people who come after us and the people who own the system, because it's their system and their data. So what do? We start as we mean to go on, nice and tidy. We create report and dashboard folders. And we use these folders to categorize our reports and dashboards so that people can find things more easily. So how do our sales and marketing managers actually benefit from reports and dashboards? Well, one, we actually let them see data collectively in a summarized form. We help them make decisions using that data. We actually save them a lot of time. Imagine back in the day, you'd have to maybe export things to Excel and you'd spend hours going through and doing VLOOKUPs. And even before that, you had to use graph paper. You know, can you even imagine? So reports give you a really quick way to answer questions, and they get you into a really good way of work, a good habit of sharing the report instead of pulling data out, fiddling with it in some cases, and sending spreadsheets and sending you know, emails with figures in them. With reports and dashboards, you can actually just send, you can create a dashboard to show the details, and you create a report to show the details, and show a dashboard, create a dashboard to share a number of different metrics in a visual way. And we know that all of our managers, business managers, they like pretty colors and nice charts. And with flexibility as well. So you can pull data from all your standard and custom objects and fields in Salesforce. If you're looking at Einstein Analytics or Tableau, you can even go beyond that. You can pull in external data sources as well. So let's have a look at what our stakeholders are going to need for this project. So we're going to get hands-on practice, and the stakeholders that we have are our VP of Sales, VP of Marketing, and our CEO. I'm not really sure why our CEO wants to export and manipulate a report in spreadsheet software. If it's a CEO that is sponsoring the adoption of Salesforce, then really I can see the only real use case for spreadsheets is to do pricing models. I guess actually, yeah, you could do that. VP of Marketing, list all customer accounts based in New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, or New Jersey that either have a prospect rating of hot or annual revenue over 2 million. That's because they want to target those customer accounts in a different way to other accounts. So they're looking for their top strategic customers. VP of Sales wants a simple report showing all her sales team's opportunities by rep that have been closed this year. So it's basically a sales leaderboard, who's closed the most. Report showing opportunities by rep by close date and displayed in a table. So that is going to show, it doesn't say open or closed opportunities. So I would interpret that as, so I would actually come back to that requirement if it was of real life and say, okay, are you looking at closed won, closed lost, pipeline? What's the purpose of this report? You tell me you want a report. You give me a solution. Tell me the problem I'm solving with this report. Matrix reports showing opportunities by owner, stage, and size in the pipeline this fiscal quarter. So this is your forecast. This is how do I know what's coming in and when. Report showing percentage of closed opportunities being won. That's going to give you your win rate. What percentage of opportunities, so anything that's qualified, marketing qualified and turns into sales qualified lead, what percentage of those are we actually winning? So do we need to change our strategy? A visual comparison of sales rep win rates. I would use this as a coaching and performance metric. So if certain reps are winning more often, I would actually ask them to share with the rest of the class what they're doing, just as a coaching tool. But I might also use it to reward reps who have a high win rate too, as part of an employee engagement program. Finally, a dashboard to display key information from her sales reports, which is to be accessible by her team. So this is for transparency. This is so that she, well, and time saving. So she can see all of the results of those reports in one place, but also her team can see it too. So it actually creates a little competitive spirit within her team, especially because you have a sales leaderboard. But it also means that obviously sales reps are often commissioned. So it means that there are no surprises either. So they know they know how much they've closed, and it's the same figure as what their manager sees as well, if it's been set up correctly. So with just a few clicks, we will be helping our executive team analyze data within Salesforce in no time. Woohoo! I'm so excited. So what do we do first? We're going to put some folders in there. We're going to make it easy for people to find these reports and to prevent people going in and messing with them. This has happened to me a number of times in my career when I have worked very hard on a set of dashboards for a customer, and then I've gone in 6 months later and none of the dashboards are running correctly because the customer's faffed with the report in the background and it's broken everything. Even though I put it in a folder that said, you know, only the admins can change this. Sometimes, you know, when power is in the wrong hands, everything breaks. Yeah, don't touch, rah. That's something I would absolutely put. If I had a good level of rapport with my customer, I might actually, and I have done it before, I'll create a folder and say, this folder fuels these dashboards, touch at your peril. So come on then, let's go and do it. So if you open up your Trailhead Playground, we are going to create a new report folder called Global Sales Reports. So get yourselves into the Sales app, so which we are, and we're going to click the Reports tab. Have some fun with this, and we're going to create a new folder. Now the interesting thing is this button does not exist in my org, like my business's org, because we have a partner org. But I can't create a new folder, and I certainly can't create a new subfolder, which really upsets me because it's functionality I've wanted for years. Anyway, so we're going to create a new folder. And what are we going to call it? We're going to call it Global Sales Reports. Where's my keyboard? Global Sales Reports. I really enjoy doing these, by the way. So if I get a little bit delirious, you know why. Okie dokie. So Global Sales Reports has been created. Click in the folder unique name to auto-populate. Yes, that's fine. Now we're going to create 3 more folders. We're going to create Admin Lightning Experience Reports. We're going to create Marketing Reports and Adoption Reports. So new folder. Admin Lightning Experience Reports. Hang on a minute. Where's my other one? Oh. Ooh, are we creating a sub one? Yes, we are creating subfolders. Yes, well done. Okay, so admin, so make sure that your folders here are sitting within the folder called Global Sales Reports. So Admin Lightning Experience, then we've got Marketing Reports and Adoption Reports. So marketing, oh, now you like me. Marketing Reports and Adoption Reports. Another trick, you can use dashboards and reports to actually create like a shit list, for want of a better word, for when you have poor data quality. And I actually have created these you know, allowed users and filtered them for individual users as well, so that they can run their own version and use the dashboard as a guide as to how they clean up their data. Of course, you need the time to clean up the data, and sales reps are usually very busy and don't like doing admin. So it could be something that sales ops use, or if you are able to spare a couple of hours on a Friday afternoon to just sit and get on top of your admin, it's a good place to start. The other way that you can manage data quality is through flows, automation, default field values, formula fields, workflows, and code, so that the salesperson has as little admin to do as possible, and you can build that data quality into your org straight away. Okay, now we're going to go and create a new dashboard folder. Guess what? Dashboards have their own folders too. So we're going to go into dashboards. And we're going to create a folder label called We're going to create a folder called Global Sales Dashboards. So new folder. Okay. Share all the new folders with the sales team. So this is aside from keeping things nice and tidy, we use folders to actually grant access to reports and dashboards to users as well. So in our folders, in In our we can use folders to grant access to certain people. So to do that, we're going to click on this on the drop down next to your folder, and we're going to click share. Now, when it comes to sharing, there are different levels of sharing. You can grant view access to dashboards or reports that are in their folder. You can grant edit access, or you can grant manage access. So if you grant manage access, you might grant that level of access to super users so they can create their teams for reports for their teams. Generally, if you have created a dashboard that is public, so let's say, and it's good practice too, it's good practice to create a dashboard that everyone can relate to, and then put it in a folder that grants only view access, and the same for the reports that sit underneath it. Then it means that people, are always given that kind of published version. So you're publishing dashboards to people as opposed to copying and pasting them or sending them. You're just publishing them to the organization. But your folder permissions are really important here because, as I said earlier, if let's say you've got 16 reports that all sit underneath a dashboard, and you've put them all in a folder and everyone's got manage access to it, what's to stop someone going in there, editing the report, completely changing the summary, completely changing the parameters, and then that actually affects what's on that published dashboard. So the figures can't be relied upon. And this is absolutely key for adoption. You have to be able to rely upon the data that's coming out of it and the reports that are being reported out of it. Blah, blah. Speak. So in this instance, what we have to do is share. And when we share the access to the data, we can share with users, we can share with roles, we can share with roles and subs, or we can share with public groups. And remember, public groups can also contain these three. So this is where also it's a good idea to think about your public group strategies as well, because public groups make things very scalable. When people join or leave the organization, if they're given a role when they're set up, then often that role is within a role and subordinate tree, or it's within a public group. So they inherit access to the reports and things that they need as they go. So for this, what are we doing here? We are sharing. So create a new dashboard folder. Now share them with the sales team. So we're going to click created by me under folders. Let's just see if you can find it. Click share, and we're going to find roles and subs. So we're going to share with roles and subs. And the roles that we're going to share with are Channel Sales Team, Eastern Sales Team, and Western Sales Team. And we're going to give them view access. So Channel Sales Team, Eastern Sales Team, Western Sales Team, give them view access and hit share. And as you can see, that's now added these permissions to the folder. So we get, as the owner and creator of the folder, we get manage permission. Everyone else gets view. Okay. Are we there? Are we ready to hit done? Yes, we are. So hit done when you're ready. And we verify the step when you're ready. However, it's going to go a bit wrong because we've got to do the same for our global sales reports. Okay, so back to reports and created by me to find your global sales reports folder. And we're going to click here on the right and find share. We're going to share with roles and subs, Channel Sales Team, Eastern Sales Team, Western Sales Team on a view only basis. Yeah, it's because I've done it already. Naughty. So let's just double check. Channel Sales, Eastern Sales, Western Sales, roles and subs. And hit share. And click done. Okay, congratulations. You have now created and secured your report and dashboard folders. Step 1 is complete. So do go ahead and, yeah. One thing to note is that all of your subfolders, because you've shared at this top level, all of your subfolders will inherit the same sharing options. So if you need to change those, you'll have to go in and change this. So you see where it says view shares, you'll have to go and change it manually if you have to, because it comes from its root folder, which is its parent folder. Any questions about that so far? Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to get some water. We're going to go and create a simple custom report next. So to do that, we have to make sure that we are in our folder. And the folder, no, there's some jiggery pokery we have to do first. So we're going to click setup and we're going to go and find our users and make sure that our role is CEO. Congratulations on the new job, everybody. Sorry, I'm really not bored. Kat said that's CEO to you. Yes. Yes, boss. Okay, so find your user record, edit the role, and make yourself a CEO. Fastest promotion ever. Thank you. So what's the next thing we're going to do? We are going to edit close dates for all the existing opportunities. This is done so that the correct data appears when you run the current fiscal quarter report later in this project. Okay. So you want to click on your Opportunities tab. And actually, I'm just going to put all opportunities. Select that list view. And as you can see, over the last few weeks, we've been creating a few of these. So I'm just going to select all here. And I'm going to change the close date. I'm going to change the close date to, what does it want us to do? Do it for today. Yes, today's date. So let's hit the 12th of May. And we're going to click 1st of June, rather. And we're going to click Update 36 selected items. Guess what that does? Updates all of them. But it won't commit them to the database yet. You know how notice how that's shown in yellow? None of these opportunities have been updated yet. So we had to click save in order to do that. There are some exceptions where you can do this with most list views if you've got the mass edit from list permission switched on. But in some situations, you won't be able to do it. And the reason that you won't be able to do it is if you've got record types and you're looking at a list of opportunities that have different record types. Yeah, so Afshan, that might be if you've got, so Afshan says, I don't have a checkbox next to opportunity name. It could be that you've got record types on your opportunities and that your list is showing different record types. So the workaround for that, yes, so the workaround for that is to create a list view and just filter by one record type, and then you should be able to change them all. Okay. So we've done that. So the next thing we're going to do is create a new opportunity report. So we're going to click the Reports tab and click New Report. In the Choose Report Type list, we're going to choose Opportunities. Now, report types lurk around in the background. Okay, I'm going to show you some cool stuff with those. They are a framework upon which that you design your reports. So report types. Okay, so you build custom report types are built on top of your lookup and master detail relationships between objects. Okay, so the minute you relate two objects together via lookup or via master detail, Salesforce will go and create custom report types they'll create report types generally. However, those are the standard ones out of the box are very limited, and sometimes you have to go and create custom report types. And the situations where you might need to do that is if you want to, let's say you're doing a report on opportunities and products, but you think that there are opportunities in there that don't have products and should have products, and you don't want to exclude those from your pipeline report. You could create a report type that says, show me all opportunities with or without opportunity products against them. They effectively replicate joins, those of you with the database or access background. And they are very much an admin function. So something else that I have used report types for, in Financial Force PSA, there is a calculation that you can run, which is called Utilization Calculation. And what it does is it runs a job, a big piece of code, and it goes and collects the number of hours that people are supposed to work in a given time period. It goes by looking for records, adding them all together. It then goes and looks at the number of hours that people have logged in timesheets, and it goes and looks at the number of hours that people have logged in assignments to look forward. And it collects and dumps that data so that you can then build a report on it. And in that instance, in terms of the results of that calculation, they're put into a custom object that's called Utilization Details. And in fact, let me get that open. Let's see if I can get in. Because it is a true work of art. Come on. Two seconds, just going to get the verification code off my phone. This is a good way to explain it, actually. Forgive me, it's in Classic. It has to be because there's just too much in there at the moment. This is my dumping org. Go away. Thank you. So here's an example of the calculation that was run. So we went away and we said, we want to run a calculation for this year and last year. And we want to check our utilization as a consultancy firm between these two dates. And underneath here, we've got all of the details, all of the records that have been produced, which basically gives you the results. And in these results, we actually need to build a report to show the, we actually want to show these, this is the object that we need to report on so that we can show what the utilization figure actually was. So was Gemma or Uma or Ferris, what was their percentage utilization in that time? So this report is a utilization report, and it is based upon a custom report type. And thinking about the data model, what you actually have, let me hide details. Sorry, it's in Classic. What I've been able to do here is actually show the percentage utilization figure by role and by practice, right? Because these are fields that exist upon a record that's related via lookup. Okay, so on our result record, did I even open that? Whoopsie, sorry. So just as a reminder, just as by way of analysis, let's have a look at the result I just looked at in the calculation. Go to list. Come on. See, a lot of data. Salesforce is great at reporting stuff that's there. It's not so great at reporting stuff that isn't there. So we have to go and calculate stuff that isn't there and put it somewhere else so that we can actually report on it. So let's look at Gemma's utilization. So Gemma, for November 2015, we started at 1st of November. We ended at 30th of November. She was supposed to work 157 hours in that period. She did 78 were billable. And therefore, we have a formula field that calculates what her utilization was in this time period. And it's just there for us to see. The problem we've got is if we take this record and add it to, like, you know, a set of 1,000 with all of these figures on them, and we add them all up, we summarize them all in a report, we're going to get, like, you know, there's no way we're going to get 100% utilization or 115 or 120. We're going to get like 20 million because it's just going to add all of those utilization figures together. So we had to create a custom report type that would only report on this object. And as you can see, you have a relationship with a resource here, which is just a contact. And in this resource, you can see Gemma belongs to a region. Gemma has belongs to a practice. She has a role. She's active. She has various other things that we collect about her, right? And what that enables us to do is to actually, instead, because you notice as well, the way the calculation works is it doesn't actually go and get what region, practice, and group Gemma belongs to. It just leaves those empty. And it just gives you the resource. So in our report type, we've got to get a bit clever. We've got to say, I want to run a report based on all of these detail records where there is actually a person's name there. And we're going to bring in fields. We're going to bring in these fields here, this region, this practice, this role. We're going to bring those in from the resource that it's related to. And to do that, we have to create a custom report type because Salesforce won't spin one up for us automatically in that instance. So let's go and have a look at the report type in the background, and I can show you roughly what that looks like. So now that we've understood the data and looked at a record, we are in a much better position to understand why we've chosen this report type. So this report type is just called utilization. Utilization details. Customize. Let me just double check what report type this is all about. Utilization details with projects, resources, etc. So it's this one here. And this is a very, very simple report type because it only includes one object. All I'm interested in is what's on that results record because, and actually as a general principle, when I'm creating reports like this, I tend to produce a template report that then I encourage people to make copies of and to change as they see fit. And I tend to go all the way through the data model right down to the bottom. Because once I'm at the lowest level record, that's actually the only record I need, and I'll show you why. If I click Edit Layout, I'm given a list of all the fields on the utilization details record, right? Not only that, so I can pull all of those in. Not only that, I can create a new section and I can call it whatever I want, which is exactly what I've done with this report type. And this is where I've started bringing in fields that are related via lookup. On the right-hand side here, you click Add Fields Related via Lookup, and here are all the relationships. Okay, so remember, if you remember, why did I close that? I don't know. If you remember what was on the result record, you've got a relationship with the resource. That's where Gemma's name is. And if I want to go and get all the information or any possible information that I might want to use in order to identify, you know, Gemma, or Gemma's region, Gemma's practice, Gemma's group, Gemma's role, etc., then I can bring in all these fields directly into my report type. And if I've got other applications in there as well, I can also stitch, bring information through from HR applications and so on. And what it does is it just drops these into my new section here, so that when I open up the report and I look at the fields that are available to me on the left hand side, I can see the fields for the results table. And if I want to get really smart, I can just take away the ones that I'll probably never use. Oh, what did you do? Something else you can do. You can also change labels. You notice what I did there? I double clicked on a field there. I can actually change the label of that field as it is shown in a report, so that when users drag it into the report itself, it's actually makes sense. So we have region and practice for the resource. And if you look at that report, notice how it says resource, practice name. That's just telling you where that field is coming from. My users don't like that. So I just double click on it, and I can change the layout. And I can see it's saying utilization details, resource, practice. I can just say resources, practice. And that is what my users will see when they run the report. In fact, I'm going to do it again for region, resources, region. And the other thing that I can do is I can go all the way through all these different relationships and pull through fields that I need from anywhere that's related via lookup. And it just keeps it very, very simple. So it means that whenever I actually want to change this report, so if I come out of this and go back in, hopefully the practice should be showing as the new label now, because I've changed the report type in the background. Let's go to utilization historical. Resources practice, you see there? So just a really simple little hack that you can use to personalize the reporting experience for your audience. And all I'm doing here is I'm looking at what data is produced by this big nasty calculation, and I'm saying, right, okay, by way of, the way I can tell this is how this is working is by looking at all of the results that are produced by the calculation and filtering out the ones that are irrelevant, or the ones that will actually distort my figures. And the way I've done that is just simply by looking. So here are all my resources. I've got a bunch of them here for September 2015. Here are all the ones with names. Then for September 2015, I've got ones for regions. If I add those to the ones in here, my figures are going to be off completely. So I have to be really selective about what records I'm going to include in my report so that people can rely upon it. Time period. Let's see, can I get anything? Yeah, so you can see for April, there's Gemma. She's done 14.85 is her historical utilization. She belongs to the UK. And you can see that across the UK, it's only 1.6 because of the way that Gemma rolls up into the UK. And then the same for EMEA, goes up to 0.7, and global goes up to 0.42. I do not want to add all of those together because that's going to mess up my figures. So the simple answer to that is to filter out all of these. So and what's the common denominator between them all? Well, these ones that have regions do not have resources, practices, or groups. So I filter out all of the ones that don't have groups. The other thing I don't want to do, because in my calculation, I might actually tell this job that I want to run, I want it to split the data by month, and that's calculated by the code. But I might also want to split it by week and by quarter as well. So looking at these records individually, going back to the Gemma in April 2015, you've got a time period type here. So looking at this, I can see that this is a month's worth of data, and I can tell from the start dates and end dates as well. And that the month in question is a lookup to a custom object, which represents the time period. So I know what time period types to filter by, depending on what I'm reporting by. So if I'm reporting by week, and then I can show weekly figures. The problem is then if I don't filter out the time period type and say it's months or week or quarter, then I could end up adding my months and weeks and quarters together. And I really don't want to be doing that. Again, that's going to distort my figures. So in my report, all I do is I say, show me all the results records where the resource's full name is not blank and the time period type equals month. And then I actually have replicated the big nasty formula that calculates utilization using something called a custom summary formula, which we'll look at momentarily. Any questions? Is everybody with me, or have I just boiled everybody's brains? Okay, I will wait for any questions. So that's really the role of report types, and I know that's a particularly horrible advanced report, but it's the best thing I could think of at the time. So you're reporting on the lowest possible level. You're bringing down fields from via your relationships with other objects, and then it puts you in a stronger position to report accurately in Salesforce. And the same goes for any other reporting tool, really. I've just found a way to feel comfortable with it. So back to our trailhead, which I've got in another window now. We're going to create a new opportunity report. So we've hit create new, and we're going to choose opportunities. So these are all of our report types are kind of grouped together. I would love to be able to change these. I've always wanted to add my own categories for these as well, but we can't do it at the moment. To create opportunity reports, we have a big list of different types of opportunity reports. Remember, opportunities are slightly different. They generally represent money coming into the business. So Salesforce have created some special reports that go with these. So opportunities, you're just reporting on an opportunities object and the lookup fields that belong to it. You can't really pull anything. Well, actually you can. Anyway, opportunities with products, that's where your opportunity line item is the lowest level. So you're actually looking at, you're actually able to say, like, group by opportunity and show the products I've sold. That one is really important if you're looking at close rates and win rates for close rates and pipeline by product. So like your product marketing directors might find that kind of report type useful. So we're going to click opportunities and hit continue. And have a drink of water and put the light on. And then you're brought into the report builder. And there's a few, as with anything in Salesforce, you can change the way that things view as much as you like. On the left-hand side, you've got an option to show fields. Well, there you go. So this will show you all the fields. Now, remember when we went into the report type and it had sections in it? These folders, these root folders here, are basically the sections that are created. So if I was to go in and look at, if I go and change my my utilization report and hit customize, I will see my sections as per the report type grouped on the left-hand side in the classic report builder, much in the same way. So you can see here, I've got a section for utilization details, and I've got a section for the resource data, a section for time cards, a section for regions, practices, groups, etc. Okay, it's very much the same thing over here. Okay, similar principle. So with opportunities, what you get out of the box is you get all these different sections. So you get, like, who is the primary contact, what's their address, what information about the account might you need. Here is your standard opportunity fields, and here are your opportunity custom fields, and so on. So you also then get a default set of columns that are given to you, and it's always these columns, and it's always been these columns ever since I've been working with Salesforce anyway. And if you want to delete some of these columns because they're not relevant, you can just click remove. You click the little X and it just disappears. If you want to add columns in, let's say you want to add in the parent account, you can drag and drop as much as you like. So you can just drop that in, or you can type as well. Depends on what you want to see. So if I want to bring in a primary campaign source, I can just drop that in. So you've got a choice of different experiences. I actually like to keep this hidden because I think it uses up too much browser resource. Now notice how this is grey. It's grey because I've made changes to the report, but in order to improve performance, Salesforce have made it that if I want to see a refreshed version of that report, I have to click a button to refresh it. You can tell it to update your preview automatically with the caveat that it could affect your system performance. As you get more fields and columns that you add, and the more sophisticated your report gets, the slower the performance can get. So leave it off for now, and then you can always check it. You can always put it on at the end just to preview. The other thing to note is that your report preview does not show the data, like a complete view of all the data. It just shows you that it is being brought into your report. Think of your report as a framework. It's a way to represent your data. This framework sits there, and when you run it, it will show you data that meets its criteria right now. Not data that met its criteria 5 minutes ago or this morning or last year, unless you put date parameters in. But it's real time. So I could run this. I could run this at noon, and then at 1 minute past noon, somebody adds a record. It meets the criteria. I refresh my report, or I then export that report. It's immediately out of date. That report. If I export it to Excel and send it to my boss is going to be missing one opportunity because someone adds the opportunity at 12:01 p.m. and I exported it at noon. So best practice is when you run the report, if you need to share it with somebody who's got access to the system, send them a link to the report instead of sending a downloaded version of the report. And if they ask you to send a downloaded version of the report, fight back. And that's the reason why it's immediate. Anything you export from Salesforce is immediately out of date from the point when you have exported it. It's a live, living, breathing system. So back to Trailhead. In the Trailhead badge, it just talks to you about what the report builder looks like. So on the left, you've got your columns, you've got your rows. Now, the way that you build reports, there are 3 types of reports that you can build. You can build a list report, which is basically this, which is just rows and columns, just like a list view. You can also build a summary report, and this is the same as like creating a pivot table. So in Excel, you create a pivot table to group by a specific field or column. So what we can do here is we have the opportunity to add groupings to create a summary report. So if I wanted to group by stage, I could just type in stage and refresh the preview. And now I can see a summary report that shows me these are the opportunities by stage. Once you've got a summary report, at the very least, you can actually also then summarize certain fields. So you could actually take the opportunity amount and you could add them all together. You could average them out. You could show the highest amount. You could show the lowest amount. I'm going to sum them all together. So this is a summary report. Refresh. So what you'll then see is you'll see data in the subtotal. There are other toggles that you can have here. So you can tell the report to count the number of opportunities or not. I'm going to switch that preview automatically on because it's annoying me pressing it all the time. I could choose just to show the groupings. If I don't really care about, if I don't want to see the detail, I could just turn the detail rows off. And it will just give me a list. Nice pivot table. Right there and then. If I want to, I could turn my subtotals off, which isn't going to do anything in this kind of thing. And I can choose whether or not I want to show grand total. How can I make this a matrix report? Well, a matrix report is another style of pivot table by comparison, where you have a grouping along the left and you have up to 2 groupings across the top. When you're working with matrix reports, you're very limited. You can only group by two rows and 2 columns. So let's say I want to group by owner. I want to show the opportunity owner. I'm totally going off piste here, by the way. I'm just showing you. So I can see here are my opportunities broken down by sales rep. So I can see who's got the highest amount. And if I hide my details, I get a further breakdown. So I can see for each stage, here is the amount by owner. Now, let's say I wanted to make this really fancy and turn this into a forecast report. And bearing in mind as well, I can actually swap these over. So I want to say owner and then show a summary by stage. So you can slice and dice this data around as much or as little as you like. Another thing you can do is you can now turn this into a matrix report, which is what we were just looking at with the utilization. Let's say I want to group by close date. Now, I've got 3 possible dates here. That's because some people like to slice their data, like to show like the whole year and then break it down by month. In fact, let's have a go at doing that. Bearing in mind, you can only do this with 2. So right now, this close date says 1st of June because I've just updated all the opportunities to close on the 1st of June. If I want to make this really smart, I can actually click on the drop down here. I can choose how to sort. I can group rows by that field. Just another way to do it. I can actually ungroup by making it a detailed column, or I can group by individual time periods. So I could say group this by calendar year. And you can see it just shows the calendar year 2020. Now, if I add in another date grouping, close date number 2, I can actually group my dates and segment them by fiscal quarter. So it means that I can get a nice look at my pipeline by owner and by quarter. It's a shame that we just changed all our dates, actually, because that would have looked really cool. Anyway, so just an idea of what you can do here. Something else you can do, I like to remove my groupings like this because it just feels a bit quicker to me, but you'll come up with your own way of working. You could maybe group them further by lead source. So for this calendar year, this is my pipeline by lead source. So think of the decisions that you're going to make based on that data. So let's see, what does Thingy want us to do, Trailhead? Something else that you've got here. So the outline section is effectively where you build your rows and columns and your framework. So, and you can actually add or take away fields as you see fit. You can change your groupings. Notice I can't add any more groupings there. I'm up to my maximum amount there. There is some other cool stuff you can do. You can create what's called a bucket. So, for example, and what this does is it actually prevents you from having to create more pick list fields in order to group your data together. So you could create a bucket for events by lead source, like lead sources that are related to events. So let's bucket this column. We can actually say this is event related. We could say, why don't I have all of them in here? Or I could actually create a bucket as well that is called networking. So you could say it's a partner referral. You could say it's an employee referral. Oh, hang on, what am I talking about? Sorry, so this bucket name is going to be the name of your new column or your new grouping. So you can say things like marketing strategy. And then you go and select the ones that you have. So like your partner referral might be in a bucket which is called networking. And then you can go and add your values. Yeah. So other. Move to networking. You could add another bucket, which is trade shows. And then you go and find your pick list values for the lead source that you want to put bundle up together and put under the heading of trade shows, etc. So once you add buckets, you can actually group by those buckets. And we've done this before, actually. There's another thing that I've done for a customer. We created a bucket for amounts. We said if the amount is between 5 and 10 million, then it's a big deal. If it's not, then it's a slightly smaller deal, etc., etc. And you could kind of look at where the efforts are going, like, is there more sales effort based on higher value deals? And that helps to give you some insight into how your sales reps are selling. Anyway, something else you can do is filter. So as you will be familiar with by now, with Salesforce, you can add filters everywhere. So when it comes to reports, you get several options. So especially with opportunities, because opportunities have specials too. Now, this is where your roles can become really, really useful when you're working on opportunity reports specifically. If you try it with other objects, it won't work. You can actually filter by role, and it means that it's an easier way to kind of break down opportunities into sales teams, for example. So you could say, show me all sales, show me all opportunities, or show my opportunities that I own, show my team selling opportunities. So that's when you've been added to a sales team. Do you remember we talked about teams way back when for sharing reasons? Well, it also has a second purpose in reports and list views, actually. There's my team selling and my opportunities. So if you own opportunities and you're on the sales team for certain opportunities, it means you can report on those. My team's opportunities. So if you are in a role that sits above others in the role hierarchy, you can actually filter to show all of the opportunities that belong to you and the people beneath you in the role hierarchy. And then finally, you've got my team's team selling and their opportunities. So it's my opportunities, my team's opportunities, and opportunities that my team are on the sales team for. So you've got a lot of flexibility with opportunity reporting specifically. In this instance, we're just looking at all of them. Then you've got your dates. Now, the dates are really, really dynamic in Salesforce. And this gets really important as well, because when you first set up Salesforce, you have to set your fiscal year. You set your fiscal year by going into your company details, company information, and fiscal year. Your fiscal year influences the dates that are shown in these periods here. So if my fiscal year starts on the 1st of January and ends in December, then I can reliably understand that when I select opportunities that are closing in this current fiscal year, it shows me the dates, 1st of January 2020 to the 31st of December. I can also customize that. That's new. Couldn't do that before. Sneaky. But your dates are very dynamic here. So, and you can also choose which dates to filter by. You can choose any date fields, any date time fields that are on your object that you create. So you have close date to closed month. They're specific to opportunities. You've got the date that the stage was last changed. You've got the last activity. You've got stuff that's on the account. You've got custom dates that are on the account. Now, for this instance, what I have actually gone and done for my utilization report is I've used a custom date range, and I've actually gone through to look at the time period end date, and I've used that to filter my dates. So your fiscal year is important, and if you change your fiscal year, you have to understand the impact that that has on your existing reports, because And it's really important that you flag that as well. If your company decides to change their fiscal year, your reporting is all going to change. So it's really important that you understand the impact of that, because you're not going to be comparing like for like. So back to reports. For this, we are going to choose a close date of the current fiscal quarter. With opportunities as well, again, you get special stuff in opportunity reporting. You can choose whether you look at any opportunity status, open opportunities only, closed opportunities, that's close won and close lost, or just close won opportunities. You also get a couple of fields that you can filter on as well, which is important for win rate. For win rate, you have a field that's called won on the opportunity. So I type in WON, then that's just a checkbox, and it tells me whether the opportunity has been won or not. And that's really useful for groupings and summaries and so on. Let me get rid of that. And then you also have probabilities as well. So you can say, because salespeople can override your probabilities. When you create your opportunity stages, you define what's the forecast category and what's the percentage likelihood of closure for the probability. But sales reps, when they create an opportunity, can actually change that probability. It's defaulted to what goes with the stage, but they can change it and override it themselves. So that's why you're given this additional filter here, so that you can choose that. You're also given another field which is called expected revenue, which is the amount multiplied by the probability of closure, which is why your expected revenue is often different from your amount. Expected revenue. As you can see here, your amount for value proposition is 380,000, but because it's a lower probability, it's 380,000 times by the probability of closure, which is a lot less. And then you notice close won matches, and close loss should just be 0. So these are specific things that you get with opportunity reports. And look, there's my marketing strategy bucket. So I could drag that up and make that a column if I wanted to. Okay. Okay, I think we're clear. So for this next Trailhead badge, what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we choose open opportunities. So we're going to hit show me. We're going to make sure that the status is open opportunities and apply it. And we're going to change our report columns. So we're looking at the current fiscal quarter, open opportunities, and the columns we want are the owner role, the fiscal period. So actually we can get rid of a lot of these. We're not bringing in the amount. I'm going to show the details just so I don't get lost. And I think I'll take that preview off just to make things a little quicker. Right, so we want the role. It's got to be in this order because it's going to check it. Drag that up here. We want the fiscal period. We want the age. In fact, let me just get rid of this stuff. Right. I'm going to take the groupings off as well and just make it a list report again. Owner role, fiscal period, age, created date. I like to type a little bit. Next step, lead source, and type. Owner role, fiscal period, age, created date, next step, lead source, type. We're then going to group by opportunity owner. So I'm just going to click in where it says group rows, and I'm going to type in opportunity, find opportunity owner. And then I'm going to refresh my preview just to make sure I'm happy with it. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to summarize by amount. So we have to click the arrow next to the amount column, which isn't actually in here. And we're just going to click this arrow here, and we're going to click summarize, and we're going to sum, which I think I've actually just undone. Sum. And then we're going to save this. And the report is going to be called Opportunities by Rep. And the report folder that we save it in is going to be the Global Sales Reports folder. And save. Oh, we were supposed to put a description in. Never mind, we can go back in and change it. So the journey of creating a report and saving the report is quite straightforward. What if you need to make changes to the report's properties? You do that when it saves. Eventually. We go to, there's a drop-down list next to the save option. Is it summarized? Yeah. So next to the save option, you've got to drop down here and you can click properties. And then this is where you can add your description. So what opportunities do reps have in the pipeline? Woohoo. And now it's time to check your step. I like to save and run though. I like to look at what I've made. Because every time I look at something I've made, there's always something I can add to it to make it better or take away from it to make it better. Any questions on what you've seen so far, guys and girls? You're all very quiet. I assume you're just engrossed. All good. Okay. So I have a nice pipeline, 3.4 million, of course. Something else you can do here is add a chart to your report. And that's where things get really cool because you're looking at dashboards. Once you've added a chart to a report, you can actually add it to a dashboard as well. Okay, next one. I feel like we've kind of done the filtering stuff, but anyway, let's create another one. So the next one is for our stakeholder, the VP of Marketing, to look at how filters and filter logic work. And I'm sure you are all fine with this because we've been doing list views. So we're going to create a new report. Let me get rid of that. Don't need it. Hit to reports. I'm just moving my trailhead into a different tab so that I can follow along. And we're going to click new report again. And this time we're going to choose a report that is for accounts. Okay. And this one is going to be in the filters. We are going to say, show me all accounts. And we are going to filter it by created date. Now, if you just want a list of accounts and you want to just add in some filter logic, you can actually take the date range out and just leave it as all time. And that's basically everything. All of your accounts that have been created, like ever. We then want to go into filters pane. Yeah, we've done that, created date. Then we go in the outline pane again. And we're going to get rid of the last activity. And we're going to get rid of last modified date so that we only have this simple list of 5 columns. Then there's another field that we need to add. We're going to add in a field, the type field. Oh, it's already there. Come on, Gem. We're going to filter by that type field. We want this report to just show customers. And because our type contains different types of customers, so direct, channel, etc., we have to be fairly dynamic with how we filter this out. So we're going to add in a filter. We're going to start typing in the word type and select it when it comes up. And we're going to say that what we can do is we can filter like you would in Excel, where you can just click the ones you want, or you can just use contains. I'm going to say the type contains customer. You can also lock these filters. And what that does is it stops other users from taking the filters off when they run the report or changing them. So click apply. And now I can see I've only got my customers. We also want to create some more filters. Okay, so we're going to repeat these steps. We want to see all accounts where the billing state is Texas, North Carolina, Illinois, or New York. So billing, state and province, equals TX, NC, IL, New York. Oh, look, much smaller list. Now we're going to filter even more. We're going to say that the rating is either hot or warm. So we just tick those two. And finally, annual revenue. Annual revenue is greater than or equal to oh my God, I'm just getting really excited here because we never had this before and I've wanted it for years. Oh my God, it's like Christmas. Sorry, I'm really happy. So I can actually now make it greater or equal to the value of another field. Oh, Salesforce, I love you. I love you. So the figure we're going to use for our greater or equal to parameter is 2 million. 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Hit apply. Still the same small amount of customers. Finally, what we're going to do is we're going to add some filter logic. Now, because at the moment, this is just showing a list of accounts that meet all of these criteria. What if we want to see accounts that meet some of these criteria? We're going to add filter logic. So I've done that by clicking this drop down for add filter logic, and I can actually change it. So as you can see, this is parameter number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and I can change how they are. So I want customers that are customers. I want accounts that are customers where the billing state and province is one of those 4. And either the rating is hot or warm, or the annual revenue is greater than or equal to 2 million. So all I do here is I just replace the last or. The problem is it's not going to work. I've got to put brackets in. So I put my brackets in 3 or 4. So now this is just going to show me customers in those 4 states where the rating is either hot or warm, or the revenue is greater or equal to 2 million. Hit apply. Let's see what that does to our preview. Absolutely nothing. Hooray. As with anything in any IT system, we have got to make sure that we save as we go. So hit save. And we're going to call this Central and Eastern Target Accounts. Don't make any typos. And our report description, I'm just going to copy it from Trailhead. Who are our most important customers in the central and eastern states? Now, this is a good habit to get into, just to explain, because when you're looking at a list of reports, this report description is shown directly in that list of reports. So please make sure that you explain why the report exists. Otherwise, it might get deleted or faffed with. Okay, so we're going to save this in our marketing reports folder, which is a subfolder of our global sales. So hit select folder and click save. The next exercise that we're going to do, because we have another requirement, is for our CEO. And the CEO wants to make sure that the company's getting the most out of its license fees. It's an expensive system. So, I certainly don't like the idea of paying for licenses that no one's using. So save and run. Let's have a look at the actual results for this one before we create our new one. Do you remember earlier? No, hang on. Okay, so that's our final list, and you can see that data is in there. Now imagine if I take Texas, if I cleared out that address for Edge Communications won't meet the criteria of this report anymore. This is why data quality is so important. And don't forget that it doesn't have to be users that update this information. You could have automated processes updating this information as well. You can also, if you have formula fields, you can actually use reports to summarize data from formula fields as well, average them, max, minimum, all of those things. So the next report we're going to create is a users report, because I don't want people using licenses, not logging in. So I want to see a shit list of people who have not logged in during the last 7 days, so I can go and find out why, or find out more productively and constructively, find out what is there going on in Salesforce that they're not finding useful. So in this instance, we're going to look under administrative reports, and you can report on reports, by the way, and we're going to look at a users report. So hit continue, and we are going to click in the outline, which is where we are. And in the add column search box, we're going to enter login access, and we're going to bring in a field called login access expiry date. There's nothing in there at the moment. We're then going to hit the filters, and we're going to click the last login filter. And under date, we're going to filter by this login access expiry date. That's interesting. Why are we looking at that? And then hit it as all time. Okay, I think we're just wanting to look at all of the users, to be honest. That's why we're looking at that. Under date, click last login. Leave range is all time. In the add filter, okay, add filter. So last login. And we're going to click use. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say we want to see all users where the last login date is not equal to the last 7 days. And that's what's known as a relative date. So we're going to click. In our operator, we're going to say not equal to, and then use a relative date. Oh, we can do it with fields as well. Oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, so then we can actually say, if we want to say who didn't log in yesterday, you can say yesterday. If you want to say last 7 days or last week or next 30 days, it allows you to put rolling date parameters in, which is awesome. And you can do it based on fields. I'm so excited. Anyway, so we're just going to say last 7 days. Again, you can use these relative dates in your list views as well. Oh my God. Oh, I might just jump out the window in glee. I'm so happy. So now this is like my shit list. This is people who've not logged in the last 7 days. There never used to be a good way to do this, and now there is. I'm so happy. So we're going to save our report. And we're going to call it users not logged in. Last 7 days. Oh, I can't wait to make this in my own org. And then in the report description, it's just going to say who hasn't logged in the last 7 days. I'm sorry. And it's going to go in the adoption reports, which is under global sales reports. Select folder and save. Congratulations, you can now check your challenge. Ready for another one? We're going to do some grouping and categorizing. And I think we're actually going to do a proper bucket now instead of me just winging it, which is great. So next report we're going to do is for our VP of Sales. The VP of Sales would like the opportunities by rep report to show opportunities additionally grouped by close date and displayed in a table. No problem. So I'm going to save and run our CEO report. For this, we are going to go and get the report that we actually already made, and we're going to go and make a change to it. Come on, come on, nice and quickly. Okay, back to reports, back to our global sales reports, and it's opportunities by rep. We're going to click edit. In this one, we are going to do some additional groupings. So we're going to make this into a matrix report. So we've grouped by owner already. Now we're going to group by close date. So in our group columns, we are going to go to close date. The other way you can do it is you can go by field. So you can actually open up the fields list here on the left, and you can find the close date. And you can just drop it into your groups. Okay, so next to close date, we're going to group by calendar month. Eventually. There we go. So there's our matrix report. So at the moment, all our opportunities close on the 1st of June. You're going to get a very, very long report if you've got opportunities closing like every day. One of my favorite stories was someone once grouped by amount, which was great. And she was like, can you have a look at it? I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, wow, I can see exactly how many opportunities where the amount is like 0.47p. This is great. Fantastic. So we're going to hit close date, and we're going to group the date by calendar month, which is exactly what I've done in my utilization report here. You see, I've grouped my calendar dates, my start dates by calendar month. Then what we're going to do is we are going to uncheck the stacked summaries, and we're going to uncheck the detail rows, and we're going to refresh. And now we can see an interesting view grouped by month of what's the sum of the age of the opportunities, what's the sum of the amount, and what's the record count. And we can actually take some of those off as well if we want to. Now, don't save the report. We're going to save as. This is a new report that we've used another one to create. So we're going to call this opportunities by rep and close month. And the description is, what opportunities do your sales reps have in the pipeline, and when do they close? And it stays in the global sales reports. So you're just creating a new version, a new framework that's based on something you've already got. And actually, it's an old tactic I use if I'm implementing and I build a report. I will usually just save it as a template, and then I will train the users to actually just do a file save as, and I'll put it in a folder that's view only so people don't mess with it. Often they do find a way. Right, so our opportunities by rep and close month report, we can view our data really usefully as a matrix, but what if we want to organize by categories? This is where we're going to use bucketing, which is what I showed you earlier. So the bucketing use case we're going to use, we actually do have to create a new report. So we're going to go back to the reports tab, and we're going to create a new report. And it's an opportunities report again. Come on. Now, in this one, we're going to actually make a bucket that talks about the size of opportunities. So we're going to classify based on the amount. We're going to say if the amount is greater than or equal to a different amount, then it's a small deal versus a medium deal versus a large deal. So we're going to use the opportunities report type. And our close date needs to be the current fiscal quarter, which it is. And we are going to make sure that we're only looking at open opportunities. So we click on opportunity status and click open and hit apply. No, I don't want to do that. Then back to outline, we need to choose the fields that we want. Again, we want a very cut down version of these. I've said for years that they give us too many fields at the beginning here. It should go down. We only need owner role, fiscal period, age, created date, lead source, and type. Fiscal period, age, created date, lead source, and type. Owner role, fiscal period, age, created date, lead source, and type. Okay. The next thing we got to do is add a bucket field. So in the bucket field, we're going to categorize all the opportunities as small, medium, or large, depending on the amount. So to do that, we're going to... Oh, how did I do it earlier? Right, refresh. Go to fields. To do it, we have to group first. We can't actually create a bucket until we have grouped. So next to columns, we're going to click in here and we're going to add bucket column. Someone's got a question. Let's have a look. Gemma, I think you have the fields backwards. Trailhead says to remove those. Oh, thanks. Yep, sorry. You do have to remove those, not to add them. That's what happens when you get close to time and you want to finish. Thank you for calling that out. I appreciate it. Opportunities. Current fiscal quarter, open opportunities. And the fields we want to take away are the role, the fiscal period, the age, the created date, the lead source, and the type. Okay. Now we're going to add a bucket column. So we're going to click there and add a bucket column. And this one is going to be called size. Okay. Now we have to choose what field we're going to bucket by. And this is a key. This is basically the key input. So we have to say that we're going to bucket by amount. Okay. And this is where, because it's a currency field, we can actually enter a range here. So we can say if it's less than or equal to 50,000, then it's a small deal. So we just put 50,000. So everyone with me on what we're doing here? We're just defining a range and we're saying what's the name of that bucket. So anything above 50,000, we're going to say is medium, but we have to add another range here. So we click add and we say anything greater than 50,000 to 100,000. That's our medium threshold. And for the third range, and this is amazing because we used to have to create formula fields to do this, and formula fields is yet another field to look after, whereas this is just in the framework of your report. So you don't have to create more fields and change the metadata. In fact, you're adding the metadata to the report. So for the third range, we just say greater than 100,000. That means it's a large deal. It's a big deal. And then if there's empty amounts, we just treat them as zeros. So hit OK, hit apply, sorry. And now we have to group the report by stage and owner and then by size. So stage, refresh, and owner. I'm just going to click group rows by this field. Right, I think it wants you to do owner first and then stage, actually. So you can just swap those around. Notice how I just dragged and dropped the column there? See, there's so many ways to change this report. So owner, then stage. And then for the size, we are going to add our bucket field. And now we have a matrix report. The next thing we have to do, notice this is just like a pivot table now. So we're going to take away our, click the arrow next to size. Then we're going to, for the bottom of the preview, we're going to slide the toggle to deselect detail rows, subtotals, and the grand total. We're just going to show the stacked summaries. Refresh. Are we just summarizing a count? We're not summarizing the amounts here, are we? This is just telling us how many small deals, large deals. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we are now going to save and run this report, and the report is going to be called Pipeline Matrix Report Current Fiscal Quarter. And then the description is how big are the deals at each stage in the pipeline this fiscal quarter. We're going to save it in our global sales reports. So we've created quite a few reports in this session, but hopefully it's helped you to understand in more detail the types of reports that we can build. On Wednesday, let's finish off this project and go through. We'll create some summary formulas, which is what I've got in my utilization report. We'll look at managing reported data and visualizing the data as a graph, and then we'll go straight on to doing some work with dashboards. Does anybody have any questions or feedback about this session? Did you enjoy working with reports? Okay, well, I will dig out some more. I'll dig out some more homework for you to do, where you get to make some more of these. And actually, one of the things I can also recommend is on Trailhead there is a super badge that you can have a look at. Super badges take a little bit more time, but I think you're ready for these. Have a little look at the super badge that's around reports and dashboards, and see how far you can get with it. Maybe that can be this week's homework, to do the super badge and see how far you can get with it. All right, everybody, thank you very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and good luck. And I will speak to you in a couple of days' time for the next session on dashboards. Thank you.